The vision was to own my own company so I could have long lunches and go off to yoga in the day. You don't get how it feels to have your own business when you work for someone else. So I think people think it looks easy, and it's easy for employees to shout from the sidelines, you should do this, you should do that, you should, you know, I could do it better. And then when you're in it, it's just another universe. Well, we had a couple of people come. They got together in a business, not in a personal relationship. They came to me and said they were leaving in a week and they were going to set up on their own and they were going to take our clients. And I was just in shock.
What?
Yeah, and we had Skype for business at the time. And I could see one of them was messaging her husband saying how they were going to get in touch with our clients and passing information to and fro about our clients and everything. I had to get the lawyers involved.
That seems like a lawsuit level type of mutiny.
It's nice to get out the mayhem for a couple of hours.
Oh yeah, you being busy nowadays? This time of the year?
We're always busy.
Yeah, always. So it's not just.
Tax waits for no man.
Yes, tax and debt. You know the saying.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining me. We've had a lovely conversation over a call a while ago. Would be great to maybe start off with an introduction of what SimplyVAT is, and then we'll discuss a bit about your career path, because you have a pretty interesting background and I want to dive into that. So maybe a couple of words of what SimplyVAT is.
Yeah, so SimplyVAT is a VAT compliance service provider focused at e-commerce businesses. So we help e-commerce businesses trade internationally. So we look after their VAT registrations and their other obligations, the VAT returns and the different reportings in the different countries. So yeah, it's quite a dry subject.
Well, it's actually not, because I feel like there's so many brands out there, e-commerce businesses, that struggle with being able to tax internationally. It's a big problem. And actually, even M earlier was telling me, I'm like, I can't wait to set up and afford to work with Claire at SimplyVAT, because she's gonna need that once she starts selling her products internationally and in general dealing with all of the taxes and all of this stuff.
Yeah, it is a complicated landscape. The EU, there is an EU directive called VIDA, VAT in the digital age, and they're trying to simplify it for online sellers, for everybody, really, businesses in the digital age, because there's so much advancement with technologies. It's hard for everyone to keep up, especially the tax authorities. So we really we try and provide a service that makes the seller feel like it's frictionless trade. I know that's feels impossible after Brexit, but
Tell me about it.
My bugbear, but we do our best. Yeah.
I'm curious, did you start SimplyVAT after Brexit?
No,
or before?
2013 was its inception, and we launched. I say we because I said we a lot in the early days when you're one person.
It's fine. It makes it feel bigger. I use we all the time. Yeah. Now I have someone that's helping me with Misfit Founders, but from the early days I was like, we at Misfit Founders.
Yeah. So we launched the website in January 2014. So 10 years next year.
Ooh.
Next month.
Congrats. Happy anniversary. 10 years of a business is a lot. It's impressive.
Shocking.
Let me not use the word a lot, because 10 years. I suppose your business has seen a lot in the world, because you've been part of quite a few changes in 10 years in UK.
Yeah. When I started SimplyVAT, like, the VAT world had been pretty static. The rules and regulations hadn't really changed that much. And then, come 2015, 2016, it really started to change. And there's kind of been an explosion in regulation changes, partly caused by Brexit, partly caused by the EU wanting to update the regulations to suit the digital age. So it's been a lot, as the youngsters say. There's been a lot going on.
And how did the Brexit impact your? Did it impact it, or did you actually had more business because of that?
No, people always ask that, which is, I mean, there was a point when it was unfolding that people needed to understand what it meant for trade. So we did have a little increase in consultancy work, but really the main impact has come later after the transition period ended. And we've seen a lot of, you're right, that word's going to be used a lot. We've seen a lot of businesses not being able to afford to continue to trade. So we've lost them as clients. They've gone out of business, or they've consolidated back just to the local market. Yeah, it's been a big impact the last 18, 20, 24 months. A lot of businesses can't afford to get their goods into the EU anymore. It's got really expensive.
Yeah, I think that's what Em was saying as well. I think it's focusing in UK first, and then.
Yeah, we've had a lot of customers over the years, being facilitated by the likes of Amazon, that have set up fulfillment houses in the EU. There was a lot of trade going on, seamless trade, that really opened the international markets for a lot of sellers. The Amazon provided the infrastructure, and the sellers, just pressed a button and they were off, and we supported them with VAT compliance. But that's all come to a grinding halt. And I think it's kind of the untold story of Brexit. It's not mentioned as one of the catastrophes. It's always COVID and, the Ukraine war. But Brexit's never mentioned by the government as something that's, really harmed British
because it's
businesses.
always, they would rather push the agenda of it wasn't our fault. It's out of our control because COVID, because the war in Ukraine is not specifically their doing. So I think they've been a bit tactful at masking the fact that Brexit has impacted UK quite a lot financially.
They've tried to. It's never ever mentioned, which is interesting, and it's obviously the party line. But I think it's shameful, the lack of accountability. We always talk about it at work, being accountable, and then you look at the government and you just go, wow, you're not even being a role model. The lack of accountability is criminal, I think.
I mean, I think a lot of people have stopped calling anything that the government do as a role model approach to things.
It's like we're in a post-truth world, isn't it? It's a bit odd. It's scary.
So with SimplyVAT, is it strictly services, or do you have a product as well, platform?
Well, we provide services, but we're just launching what we call our self-service product.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, which is really exciting. It's been a long time coming, a sad story of failed software development, but we've got there. And it's really exciting. It's called Tribexa, and we're starting with, it provides self-service iOS VAT registration, which is the import one-stop shop, EU VAT registration that actually helps facilitate the smaller businesses trade into the EU. Any goods under 150 euros can be, and not sold on a marketplace like Amazon, can be, the tax can be accounted for through the iOS registration. So that's really exciting. And we're launching that now with our customers, existing customers and new customers. So and then that will go on a journey next year, on a roadmap to kind of encompass a lot more different countries and registrations. So yeah.
So for now is EU.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you need to be, you as a company, do you need to be regulated or any way to be able to provide these services?
No, we don't. VAT is kind of outside the scope of regulation. We're not an accountancy
Okay.
company. Yeah. There's self-regulation, if you like, and there's best practice initiatives being pushed by HMRC, but we always are ethical in what we do and how we work. So yeah, but no, there's no formal regulation.
Right. And but I suppose you do have and that's an interesting question. Does that also, because I was talking to someone that was working in services and giving advice on certain things, be it financial or not, and they were telling me that they need to have really good insurers and liability insurance and
PI
things like
cover,
that. Yeah.
yeah. And it got really expensive after COVID.
Did it?
Yeah, we were paying like 15 grand a year, I think, and it went up to about 100 grand a year just because the insurer's appetite kind of really changed after or during COVID. So yeah, that was shocking for the business.
What's the connection there? Because maybe I'm not seeing it. Why increase?
I think a lot of companies got burned by COVID and they had to pay out a lot, so they were much more kind of circumspect about what they were insuring and the cost of that insurance.
We're kind of out of COVID. You'd expect the prices to go back to...
No, because I think the market shrunk as well. It's hard to find providers with an appetite for it. So no, the price hasn't gone down.
So wait, you're saying you're paying 100 grand?
Yeah, nearly, yeah.
Per year?
Yeah. For
that
PI
is
cover.
A lot.
Yeah.
So you need to make quite a substantial revenue.
Yeah.
Just to cover for that.
Yeah. But it's something that we have to have.
Yeah.
And especially with tax and VAT, things are open to interpretation. So yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. We can't not work with it. It's a non-negotiable. Yeah.
So you started 10 years ago. How was the vision always to get the company where it was today? And maybe talk a bit about the early days of your company.
The vision was to own my own company so I could have long lunches and go off to yoga in the day. That was the driving force.
Which is completely fine. Like I see a bit of a retention there to say that, but I've been a big preacher of you should be doing and acting based on what your values are. Yeah. But I think, again, there's still this stigma of if you're not in it to change an industry or solve the world's problems, you're in it for the wrong reasons. But that's not true. No. Each with its own at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I'd kind of got made redundant and just needed to earn a living. But I thought it would be fun to have my own business. And yeah, it was about the freedom for me. And not being told off at work. Not that I got told off a lot, but...
What were you doing before for work?
I worked for an international VAT company, but they were on VAT recovery, so a different product, if you like.
Right, yeah.
So reclaiming VAT for big corporates. So I was heading up client management there. And then... my boss asked me to set up a kind of offshoot of that, or help him launch it, a data analysis company. So he gave me a budget and, kind of got that to market and got some clients. But then I really enjoyed that. And I think that's what really piqued my appetite. It was really fun getting that to market. But then it was an easier sell for that company to work from a VAT angle. So then, ended up kind of being in competition with the VAT company, which was just pointless. So we agreed that I would dip out, and I'd been there like 17 years, so I was ready.
17
Yeah.
years for that specific company.
Well, not for the data one, for the VAT company. Then I spent a couple of years on the data company.
Wow.
Yeah, but that was a small company that kind of grew and consolidated. And I think when you work for a small company, you're never bored. You know, you're always
Very true, yeah.
yeah, you're kind of jack of all trades, and I think yeah,
So that's what kept you there.
yeah.
And before that, what were you doing?
Before that, I actually lived in London. So I worked for a retail consultancy company, supporting the directors there. So that was completely different, but again, kind of on client management side. So yeah, that's been up until I came to Brighton. I hadn't been involved in international VAT, and that was about 1997.
1997.
Yeah, I got involved with it.
So what made you move to Brighton then?
Quality of life, really. Working in London, living in London. Yeah. Have you lived in London?
I did for 8 years, yeah.
Did you? Yeah, we kind of know having 100,000 kind of potential, you know, unknown strangers in your face for breakfast every morning, and you go, wow, this is
intense.
Yeah, it's intense. And I was coming down to Brighton a lot to visit friends and party. I thought, yeah, quality of life.
You like the vibe, the frequency, the less crazy and intense frequency of Brighton world.
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember I commuted for a little while when I moved to Brighton, and then I actually got the job with my old boss. So I started working with him in the international VAT recovery space. So yeah, that was yeah.
How old were you when you moved to Brighton?
30 something, 37. 34.
37.
Okay. Can't remember.
Okay, in the 30s.
No, 34. Yeah, early 30s. Yeah.
Right, and before that, you were having a career in London, working as a professional there. You had was it one single job like this other one for 17 years, or did you have multiple jobs in London?
Multiple jobs, and I was abroad for a couple of years as well. Worked for a clothing company in Bali and Australia. Oh, wow. Kind of followed the sun round for a couple of years.
Nice.
So came back to London in the summer and then went out kind of in the season. So yeah, distant memory now.
But you've been in the professional employment landscape for a very long time.
Yeah.
And 10 years ago, you started your first business.
Yeah.
What? How did you? Because I know a lot of people that are very in their very mature stage of being a professional, and they've been pursuing a career for a long time. It's very daunting sometimes to say, I'm gonna leave all that and start my own thing, especially after working 17 years for the same company.
Yeah, I think it was naivety. I kind of got this company going for my boss, and I forgot he was paying me every month. So, but yeah, it was naivety. But I had a bit of redundancy money and I had some savings. And I have to be honest. I think as well. I was like, you know, how else? I have an opportunity to maybe pay the mortgage off without, you know, working till you're 70 or something. So it was just give it a go. What's the worst that could happen? And
were there did those worst happen while you in the early days of your business? Or was it a smooth ride at the beginning?
It wasn't smooth. I think I spent about a year networking with no clients. So that was really hard work. And I was trudging up to London, networking, going places, and not realizing when it kind of actually toppled, you're sowing acorns all the time, and people are getting to know you. So
Yeah.
I remember talking to my dad, and he was like, "Oh, just give it." I think it was Christmas, 2013, no, 2014, going into 2015. He said, "I'll give it till April. I'll see how you do." And then, yeah, those acorns started to grow, and I got an email, a fairly innocuous email from somebody that turned out to be a big Amazon seller that was a partner in a massive Amazon peer group that that had reach in the States, and they asked me to go to a conference in Kentucky to talk at an Amazon seller conference. Yeah, and I think I had $5,000 left in the bank, and I thought, sod it, I'm gonna go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Give it all
Yeah.
for this one shot.
Yeah. And that was it. Never looked back. It was amazing. Like, this conference America's amazing. There's no ceiling of limitation. There were like every sort of person from every walk of life, young people, older people, grannies there, wanting to sell internationally. So I got introduced, to the conference. And then I felt like Justin Bieber or something. I was like 6 deep in people wanting to talk to me about VAT.
Because they knew you, or was it because they saw what you're advertising?
Well, this Amazon seller was on stage talking about selling internationally, and he said, "Oh, Claire Taylor's here from SimplyVAT. Talk to her if you need to know about the taxes." And that was it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, floodgates opened, and I'd booked some time in Florida afterwards. And I went, and I just didn't stop working. The emails started to flood in and flood in and flood in. And it went on like that for a couple of years. It was bonkers.
How amazing is that?
Yeah.
Imagine letting it go a couple of months before, and then having to say to this individual, "Well, actually, I've closed down. I got a job now," and never making it happen. I think a lot of the times, there's this thing about grit, which is super important, but I think luck also plays a lot of a part of it. And you mentioned someone that said, "Give it." Was that
My dad? Yeah.
your dad?
Yeah. Yeah. He passed away this summer, so. But yeah, he was my biggest fan. So yeah, he was good.
Were you ready to close down when because to be honest, a year of sharing your details, doing network, but not having anything tangible from a customer and revenue perspective would put a lot of people off.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was getting a lot of stuff, ready and collateral and that. I don't know. I think I got a funded intern from Sussex Uni. She came and sat with me for the summer. So kind of things, trying to get the marketing going. And I think a friend gave me one client, like a bit of business, and then one customer came in. And I was like, so it wasn't completely nothing for a year. I remember the intern saying to me, "I wish you had customers." And I was like, I wish I did too. Oh. Yeah, we're still in touch. She was great, absolutely great. But yeah, so we were doing all this marketing stuff, and time was just going, and making connections with partnerships. Fulfillment houses, things like the DIT and things like that. So start making all those relationships. Put an event on with the Chamber of Commerce here. At the Jury's Inn, talking to online sellers. So yeah, it was hard.
Did that year of networking, apart from this one person from Amazon that shouted you out on stage and that gotten you quite interest there in US at that one specific event, did any of these networking efforts paid out later? Did you had anyone else that came along and was like, "Oh, well, I didn't needed VAT help then, but I need it now," and so on?
Yeah, I mean, that continually happens, and has happened. Yeah, I'm trying to think of specific examples. I think, again, one of the early days as well, he's been a really good, he's still a client, but came to me, and I'm thinking how I got introduced to him. I can't remember. I think through the DIT. And he'd had 2 letters from the tax authorities, one from the French and one from the Germans, and they told him that he owed them €1 million each. So
That's a pickle to be in.
Yeah, and he's a great person. He made his money in the 80s and 90s in the music business, and then had launched this kind of almost hobby Amazon business, but it was a multi-million-pound business. So yeah, the French and Germans got in touch, and he was like, can you help? So yeah, give it a go. So he's great though, really proactive, and he'd paid HMRC and trying to get the money back from HMRC. So, but so we worked together to see what we could do to help that. And he also got a lawyer in Germany that was really, really helpful, and actually took on the German tax authority. And yeah.
Oh, wow.
But he's always referring business to us.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way, just having customers that are super happy with the services. And because every single platform or service that I've used that I've been happy with, I've recommended left and right. And I think that's important. Do you charge a flat fee, or how does it work? Is it a percentage of the VAT? How does it work usually with your services?
We charge like a flat fee. So we charge a one-off fee for the registration, which we ask for up front, and then we charge. We work on a subscription model now, so we charge for the VAT returns, but it's kind of monthly, spread out.
Yeah, because you need to do that return yearly.
Well, it depends on the country. It could be monthly, could be quarterly, could be bi-monthly, could be
But it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because that's what I've, like, when we were doing tax returns, we were using a company to do the tax returns for us it's only once a year, but we were paying monthly smaller fees to distribute it like that, rather than paying once a year when the tax submission happens. Now that's good. And in terms of the business, and are you at a stage now where you have more customer work than you actually need, in a sense?
No. I think there was a patch between about 2016 and about 2020 or 2021 where we were absolutely inundated, and the business just grew and grew. I just used to be I remember being at the NatWest Accelerator, and I just had this stunned look on my face all the time, because we were just caught in headlights. And there were other startup businesses there going, oh, it's a nice problem to have. And you're thinking, yeah, but it's really hard, like trying to make sure that you're keeping the clients happy and you're doing everything right, because there's consequences when we don't file on time. But now we have, it's kind of steadied out a bit. And again, we've been impacted by the churn from Brexit. So I think the last couple of years we never spent on PPC or anything before. It was all organic. We might do events, or not a massive amount, but might go to America, or we had did a couple of events in China. We had an office in China for a year, which is really good fun. But we've never spent a lot on marketing, and we've had to change that now, kind of be much more proactive. And the landscape's got much more competitive as well. When I started, there was literally maybe a handful of competitors, and now it's got busier, and the competitors are, tech savvy and deeper pockets and all this. So yeah, it's been really challenging, but we're still standing, and excited for the future with our software.
And the software, when did you decide that you wanted to implement software part of your offering?
2016.
2016. Okay.
Took a while.
So that is 7 years.
Yeah.
So basically, after 3 years of your business doing in the early days, you also mentioned you had quite a lot of work. You decided, what was it? Hey, you know what? We have so much influx of work. It would be great if we would have a self-service platform, or what was the thinking to around the software?
Yeah, to have a client portal and a VAT engine, if you like, calculation engine, to be able to process the VAT returns, because all of what we do is such a process. So got investment in 2016, a small amount of investment. Well, you know, it was massive at the time, and that was exciting. But got money in then, and we kind of embarked on trying to build a software, and then went through a couple of software companies, didn't have much success. And then 2019, 2020 got introduced to a local entrepreneur that was very successful, software developer, kind of made his money looking around at something to not be bored. Right. He's so bright, so clever. He definitely keeps us on the straight and narrow. But he built our software along with our internal dev couple of people in lockdown. So then 2020, they built the software, the VAT engine, if you like. So then we were using that internally, so all the VAT returns get processed automatically. Mm-hmm. And then from that, we've been working towards the client portal kind of self-service angle on it. So yeah, he managed to succeed where others failed.
So you basically, when you say from 2016, 2020, you had a couple of, you looked at a couple of companies. Are you referring to, did you awarded the project and they didn't implement properly, or what happened there?
Yeah, so there was a good go at building the kind of VAT calculation software, but yeah, we just didn't, it didn't come together for whatever reason, and we swapped. I think one of the lead developers moved, and then we swapped companies and tried again, but it didn't work. And the chap who's built it now, he's invested in the company as well, so he's our investor. But yeah, we tried. And that time goes quickly when, you know, and the business was growing. We were literally, there was one point in 2018 where, you know, staff were coming in the door on a Monday, and by the Friday they were training the next lot coming through.
Oh, really?
It was bonkers, absolutely bonkers. We were.
How big was your company at its biggest?
In terms of people?
Yeah.
100.
100?
Yeah.
Okay, that's quite
yeah.
good.
It was quite shocking. A lot, and that, well, we were 50 when we went into lockdown, and then it doubled in lockdown, and then we're just kind of pulling back. You know, we're getting more efficient. The automation's going in, and you know the growth has slowed down because of, you know, the churn, etc. So we're down to about 70 now. But yeah, it's a lot of people.
It is, and is the majority working on the VAT submission services? So, as in experts and people that help your company, your customer companies in submissions.
Yeah, so we've got the onboarding team, which is a VAT registration team, and then the client management team is the biggest team, and those are the people that do the VAT returns. Mm-hmm. And they're supported by a consultancy team. And those are the kind of core, you know, operations, if you like, to get the you know, make sure everything gets filed on time and the customer's happy as much as we can. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's very intense and stressful for you as well, because you have to submit those VAT return bits in time. And I suppose does it mean that you're helping them submit in various countries, which would have different submission dates and different.
Yeah.
So it's all chaos in your company in
It's
terms
not
of.
this.
I'm joking, but,
It
like
was.
in terms of
Yeah.
dates and so on. Because if I think of, for example, a I don't know, tax return here in UK, like everyone just bundles towards the end of the year
Yeah.
to do their tax returns. But for you, it sounds like everyone's actively working throughout the year because everyone's submitting at various times, isn't it?
Yeah. So we probably have about 8 deadlines in a month for different countries every month. And then you've got the
Wow.
quarterlies for other countries, and then you've got the annuals for other countries. So yeah, it's a timetable.
And when you say a VAT engine that you put together, does that this includes this managing of your customers' dates and countries and submissions and all of this
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Yeah. Um but yeah, it's a portal for the client managers so they can go in and see which of the VAT returns due for
Right.
which clients and which countries. And the clients we deal with are all, a lot of them are entrepreneurial themselves. So, people like Ems you're talking about, that are either starting out on their journey or that's what they do. That's their business, is to sell online. So everybody's different. Everybody sends their data in differently, or
Yeah.
has different questions or have different needs. Some people really like hand holding, other people know what they're doing, and it's, much more light touch. So we're trying to make all those processes uniform and much more easy to manage. But it's not like dealing with somebody in an accounts team or something who hasn't got kind of ownership of what they're doing. The entrepreneurs are really passionate. VAT, taxes are a thorn in their side. So yeah, we try and support their emotional journey as much as their practical one.
I suppose that seems very challenging to me. Because it is an emotional bit of a customer's journey, and you must have also patient of an iron patient as an organization with your customers, because everyone's frustrated, everyone's stressed when the
Yeah.
taxes come. So you do have to have certain level of skills in dealing with customers at when they're at their most intense, in a sense.
Yeah, it's not easy, but I think I'm naturally a people pleaser, and it's kind of grown up from
Right.
that. So we haven't always made great commercial decisions, but in terms of supporting the customers, sometimes we've really gone, out our way without getting paid for it, to make sure people are supported. But we're trying to, make sure that we do support the customer, but that it's sustainable for us as well. But yeah, I think for me, especially understanding how an entrepreneur feels, because if you've got everything coming at you a day and then, the tax isn't going smoothly or you don't know what you're doing. So we do have that culture of the customer at the heart of what we do, and the people we employ, they get such good reviews from customers and stuff. So yeah, really proud of it. I mean, occasionally people get upset, which is really frustrating as well. We do drop the ball, but I kind of pride ourselves and we try and fix those mistakes as
Yeah.
much as we can. But then you get the kind of keyboard warriors that are just mean for mean's sake, and they're not truthful either. And
Yeah.
you can't have a bicker online about it. You've just got to kind of smile and take it on the chin. But yeah, for the most part, the customers seem to appreciate what we do.
I've been on both ends. I've been the keyboard warrior sometimes with some services that I used, and I've also been on the receiving end of our customers
Yeah.
being keyboard warriors. So I'm curious, how do you, because you said you're a people pleaser by nature and such, how do you instill that kind of serving culture in your company?
We do. You talked about values early doors when we started talking, and we do have values that we kind of, we try and live our lives by at work, and we instill those. We've got 5 values: compassion, honesty, freedom, happiness, and collaboration. And in those values, we've defined the behaviours that we expect. So things like freedom, and we had a democratic process. So when there was about 50 people in the company, we did a workshop, and people chose these, and I was like, freedom, what is that going to mean? But
That sounds like mutiny.
I know. I was like, uh-oh. But it's one of my favourites now, because it's all about the freedom for the team to be creative with their solutions, but also, the customer has freedom to get on with what they want to do, because we're providing a professional service, so they don't have to worry.
Yeah.
It's those type of things. But as a business, the values are brilliant for informing people. If they've got a decision to make, they go back to the values and think, is that true to what SimplyVAT is about? And how, am I being collaborative? Am I making the customer happy? Am I partnering with them to understand the needs and get them through this? So they really inform how, I expect people to behave in the business. And I think values are really interesting in everyday life as well. Sometimes when you find you're not aligned with people, it is because you've got a different set of values to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. There is a strong kind of force, I think, to kind of live your life by.
Have you ever had a case in the team where someone was clearly not a fit from a values perspective?
Yeah.
And what was the end result with that? Did you have to fire them? Did they exit themselves? Or did you got them around to be more aligned with your values?
I think there's different examples. It's not just one person, that's happened to over the years. We've had a lot of people.
Sure, yeah. 100 people and circulating and hiring and others leaving along the way. It's you get a lot of characters, you get a lot of personalities and culture traits.
Yeah. I mean, there was one particular time, actually, before we put the values in the business, where we had a couple of people come, and they got together, which I didn't know about. They got together in a business kind of in a business, not in a relationship, a personal relationship. And then they came to me and said they were leaving in a week and they were going to set up on their own, and they were going to take our clients. And I was just in shock.
What?
Yeah. And we had Skype for business at the time, and I could see one of them was messaging her husband saying how they were going to get in touch with our clients and passing information to and fro about our clients and everything. So I had to get the lawyers involved.
That seems like a lawsuit level type of mutiny.
Yeah, it was really mean, actually. I mean, business can be mean, but we're a nice company, and it was interesting to see how they positioned it to justify what they were doing. So we did. I got the lawyers involved, and we shut them down. And actually, during that time, clients were phoning saying so and so had just got in touch with me. What's going on? And I really had to sing for our supper, but none of the clients liked the fact that these people had approached them like that. So they stayed loyal, which was great. But it was that was a brutal time.
I think you're also honestly lucky, because I've stopped contracting with a company because there were a couple of their employees that went rogue and wanted to get me as a customer, and I said I don't want any part of it. Like I think it's very unprofessional from your employees to try to kind of like hook me, where they know that I'm your customer, but at the same time the fact that like you have not taken control of this earlier on, and it got to me. So I've stopped with a couple of companies because but I've also had companies that actually done damage control, and I've stayed with them because of that. Because they knew how to treat the situation in such a way that they made me comfortable that was something that wouldn't happen. So I think it was the companies that I've dropped were because of their attitude towards that situation.
Yeah, like it's interesting if you because of the company's attitude. Like, what were they, or were they not doing to what could they have done to catch it earlier?
Well, not necessarily catching it earlier, but it felt a very blatant response from them, and not, when a company goes a bit silent about the challenge and says, "Oh, don't worry about it, we'll handle it." It feels very disjointed and detached versus, "Hey, we're really sorry about here's what happened, and we feel terribly that this has happened, and we want to keep you as a customer, and here's what's going to happen. Here's our roadmap. Here's how we're going to improve this." It's a completely different. It's a contrast, right? To versus someone replying to you, right, "Thank you for letting us know," and never messaging you again about that issue. It's like, no, you're not giving me the confidence that you're changing or anything like that. If this happens, it's probably going to happen more, and maybe you're going to leak my information as well, right? It doesn't seem like you have control over what you're doing internally. Whereas someone coming in and apologizing and really well communicating, what that was and how they're treating that gives me confidence as a customer.
Yeah, I'm not just saying it. We did do the latter. It was like I was on the phone to people, talking them through, and
well, that's probably why people stayed.
And still to this day, I mean, I got a WhatsApp message from a client, and he sent through a letter from the Polish tax authority, and I'm like, "Why can't you talk to your client manager?" I mean, I didn't say it, but so I dealt with it. But I've still got that connection with a lot of clients. They, we're very approachable. So, yeah.
But that's, I mean, I don't think that that's a rare occurrence, because again, I mentioned, and I've had at least 3 occasions when that happened to me, that someone went rogue in a company that I was a customer of. So it's not very uncommon. But the thing is that, I'm really curious on why people think that they can do this. I suppose you've had your contractual employment agreements and everything, to mention non-compete clauses and all of these things.
Yeah, I think, I mean, we did get the lawyers involved because they were so blatant, and I had written evidence that, they were trying to steal clients. But yeah.
I think it's unpleasant, but it really helps you in your journey as a founder, because I've had to go through so many things with people, a variety of challenges, and then you become a bit of self-analysis. You do a bit of a self-analysis and figure out, well, this happened because of this. We need to get better at this. We need to do better at this. We need to do better at that, and so on. And they're all things that happen for a reason. I think it bakes you a bit as a founder, and it helps develop certain skills in that sense.
I know, and I think, I remember working, obviously, for my boss, and you don't get it. You don't get how it feels to have your own business when you work for someone else. So I think people think it looks easy, and it's easy for employees to shout from the sidelines, "You should do this, you should do that, you should, I could do it better." And then when you're in it, it's just another universe of stress. And
I think team members and employees are sometimes, I mean, depends on who you're talking to. I don't want to generalize everyone, but I've been in so many situations where I was an employee at a company that I loved, and there were so many people that were talking so much shit to about the founders, about the leadership, about this and this and that. And it seems like there sometimes there's this us against establishment type of attitude in some people. I'm not saying, because I know a lot of lovely people that are the most understanding team members ever, and by nature curious and ask questions. And the most surprised and the most pleasant conversations that I had with team members of mine were when they were asking questions about me, about my challenges as leading the company and so on, and also about the company's this direction and this and that, and just being genuinely curious about certain things, versus talking to other team members about Bira is so rubbish at this, he's not doing all of that, but not talking directly with you. I find that is the hardest. When that happens in a company, that is the hardest to solve.
Yeah, we have a great coach, business coach that I've worked with over the years, and man, it takes practice, but I desperately try. But we've had kind of coaching sessions on, they're called courageous conversations. So it's about partnering with people. So I get people come at me from within the and you kind of go, I feel defensive. I feel it kind of knocks you, and it's about not reacting, not coming out fighting because you feel defensive, but about then kind of partnering and working out where their frustrations are coming from. And we haven't had a session for a while, for a couple of years probably, but want to get those back in the business, because I want to try and stop the backbiting, if you like, and people can have a conversation with someone. You actually made me feel that made me feel uncomfortable. It's trying to practice those sort of skills. I do think about it at work and try and stop that kind of gossip situation, but you can't. I think it's human nature, and
I think it makes it a lot harder. You're right. If you're the type of leader that cannot take feedback, or if your team members even smell that you've felt insulted or that been taken back by the comment, it would just amplify or incentivize discussions outside your presence, in a sense. Because if you're not seen as someone that's super into getting feedback and criticism over certain things, and people don't feel like they can come openly to you to talk about certain things, I think that's in the occasions that I've seen this happen, it wasn't just the 1-2 bad apple that always loves to gossip and to talk certain things. It was also leadership not being open to those conversations.
Yeah. No, we do have those conversations. I do get challenged. I do take it, and I do learn.
But it is hard.
Well. Yeah. Well, it isn't easy, and you are. However hard you try, and sometimes you can't do right for doing wrong as well. Like, we were introducing bonuses a couple of months ago, and there was a bit of a hoo-ha about that. You're going, we're trying to do something nice here. Like, it's really, I don't know why things land as they do. But I think as well, I mean, I don't know if I'm too democratic sometimes. I think some people probably say, I am, but do, take feedback and listen to what people are saying and why things have landed as they do. And then we adjust accordingly. Sometimes, we might do something, and then the feedback comes after we've done it, and then we have to adjust kind of in flight. But yeah, you live and learn, and you just keep doing our best, I think. In challenging times, it's not easy.
I think you're also at a stage where that I've never been in, which is I've only led smaller teams, startup teams and such. And when you're at 10 people, it's a bit of a different type of company, and you basically lead in a completely different way than when you have 100 people.
No, I miss those days.
Like I think my feet, like, because I've been part of bigger companies and
Yeah.
teams and so on, I've always tried to keep things as small as possible for as long as possible, because that's one of the things that I don't know how to do. Like I don't know how to be um pleasing absolutely everyone. And when you have a company that's 100 or more, I think even from 50 onwards, you, like you say, everything that you put in place, there's gonna be criticism or concerns from one group from the team, or specific team members and so on. And it's very hard to feel like you're doing right by everyone all the time.
Yeah.
When, like, because you're talking about bonuses, some people I know in my network are completely against bonuses. And then there's people that, criticize companies that don't give bonuses. And these people sometimes exist in the same company.
Yeah.
So it gets very difficult to
Yeah.
figure out what the right answer is that everyone, that makes absolutely everyone happy.
Yeah.
Is very hard at 100 people.
Yeah, you can't. I don't think you can. And yeah, I remember when I worked in London, we worked for quite a rich company. We used to have champagne every Friday afternoon. Oh, gone are those days. We haven't even got a beer. Oh yeah, we have got a beer fridge, but yeah, I think you're right. I think it's just human nature for people, maybe to have something to say about management, or there's always something you can moan about.
And I think it's a good sign, the fact that there is diversity in thinking and opinion. So the fact that it wasn't straightforward for you to implement, bonuses and so on, I think is a good sign, because it means it kind of signals diversity in thinking in the company, rather than having copycats of the same person cloned several times and so on, because then you kind of live in a bit of an echo chamber. And when you're working with the variety of customers like you do have to have diversity in your own team as well, in order to be able to serve a diverse group of
Yeah.
customers.
Yeah, and in the senior leadership team at work, there are such bright sparks, and they've always come with really valuable insight or feedback. So for me, they've always got a voice around the table, even though I feel challenged sometimes. A lot of the time, I need to hear what they're saying.
Yeah.
Because they're much closer to what's going on as well. So yeah.
It's normal to feel challenged. We're, at the end of the day, we're humans, we're not machines. And I feel that our teams usually forget that.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, you're not an AI, you're not a robot.
Yeah.
You as a leader have feelings as well. But I feel that in a lot of the corporate environments it's trained not to show feelings, and I understand why, right? Because in a way you have to be the role model and the person that's the rock of everyone, and give people confidence and so on. But in the same time, I think there's extremes to every single way of approaching things. The extreme to this is you just seem soulless, right?
Yeah.
Like if you don't show any kind of emotion, and you always treat everything with the most formal and corporate tone and language, then you don't, like, people don't relate to you, and you just feel super cold. So there has to be a balance, but that balance is hard because, you know, showing emotions is difficult at times because you don't want to panic your team. You don't want people to feel unappreciated. You don't want them to feel like, oh, you don't appreciate their contribution or this or that. So
Yeah, and I must say I get frustrated. I mean, you know, we grew very quickly, and then we've had a tough couple of years. We introduced Salesforce into the business. It's, you know, expensive, so that project was over budget and over time, which crippled us. And then, you know, with Brexit and everything else, and I haven't, you know, been able to reward people as much as I would ever want to, and, you know, money's been tight and stuff, and that's frustrating for me. But yeah, we seem to have I don't, you know, if they listen to this, they go, "What you're talking about?" But you know, a good culture in the business, and I am approachable, and, you know, through, you know, talking about that coach we used, being a vulnerable leader, if you like, and yeah, just transparency and honesty, and trying to have fun as well. Yeah, I forget sometimes how much I love fun. So it's hard. It's
yeah,
hard with a business, but trying to put that into the business sometimes. And it's, you know, through COVID we went online, and we've got a small office in Hove, but we've got a lot of people online remotely, and just trying to, you know, even instill or maintain a culture online. But yeah, we do have fun sometimes, but yeah, not enough.
it does. It does 100% happen. I do feel like towards the end of my company's journey, I became a bit of a grump with the team just because of the stress levels that I had with, you know, making sure that we're in a good, stable financial position, making sure that the acquisition goes through properly and so on. So, you know, if there's one thing that I want to apologize to my team at Jigsaw is not being a bit more lighthearted and fun, because I can be like, you know, I'm a goofy person sometimes. I'm fun. I like uh doing fun things. Just by saying that, I sound like I'm not fun at all. I like doing fun things.
I was going to say, what are your fun
Yeah.
things?
But yeah, it was a bit intense. Now, the one thing that I wanted to say is it's also fascinating how after a very long period of time in the professional world as an employee, the first business you're starting, you manage to get it to 100 people and thrive with it, go through a period of hardship where it sounds like it was, and now being at the other end. Is it at the other end yet, or is it
We're getting there. We're
okay?
getting there. Next year is going to be hopefully game changing. But yeah, we've been holding our own in really challenging times. So yeah, just holding our own. But now we're touch wood coming out of it. But we're, you know, a few months into next year, we'll be a lot better position.
What, because that to me that is special. Like, just you don't see that often. Someone starting their first business, be it in their later or years of their career, uh, and being able to start it, grow it to a certain level, and persist through adverse conditions. What would you say are the traits that got you here? What is it that you do well in order for this company to still exist 10 years later?
But yeah, when you put it like that, it sounds a bit bonkers. When you live and breathe it, you don't really appreciate what you've done. Um, I think tenacity is the biggest thing.
Tenacity.
Yeah. And I think you talked about luck as well. Maybe it was luck, maybe it isn't. Maybe it's, you know, when I started, there wasn't really anybody speaking to the e-commerce, you know, world about international VAT. And because I was on the client management side. It was all about making it as accessible as possible. So we just hit a perfect storm of Amazon growing and the tax authorities getting more wise to the online fraud, if you like, from e-commerce. So we were in the perfect storm. Tenacity, I think, is the only thing I can think of. I don't know. It's brutal sometimes, absolutely brutal. And I kind of lived in a state of stress for years. Might quietly be an adrenaline junkie. I don't know.
Addicted to stress. Hopefully not.
No,
Hopefully not.
My dream of not being stressed. Yeah. Yeah, that's all I can say. Kind of determination, and I think, and also the opportunity of it. It's to have a business with such a mental opportunity. It could be we have, we deal with clients in 50 countries. We had an office in China, like all these things. It's not missing the opportunity, I think, in life. So.
You're passionate about this topic.
VAT?
Are you yeah? Have you ever been passionate about the VAT topic?
Yeah, I think I've been passionate about helping people.
Right.
It's really exciting when businesses, I met a lady in her 70s in Kentucky in that first thing, and she was like, I can't believe I'm selling internationally. It was,
It's very rewarding for you as the service provider to help others. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It is about trying to, make people sleep at night, and understanding, they're an entrepreneur as well, really trying to take the pain away.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's about helping people, I think. The VAT is a vehicle. VAT is fascinating because when we work with the EU tax authorities, all the different countries and the cultures and the stereotypes that come into play.
Really?
Like the Germans are really efficient. It's much more laid back, like the Mediterranean countries. They just take longer. They're not actually laid back. They just take longer to do things.
Yeah.
So, and for me, I'm quite. My team will just roll their eyes, but I'm really passionate about the EU. To have 27 or 28 when we were in it, countries trying to work together in the same direction, I think is phenomenal. And I think that for me was always a joy, to be honest, to watch that big, kind of big mass, working its way through all these rules and regulations to try and look after, the citizens. Yeah, fascinating.
But we fudged it up, didn't we? In UK with.
Honestly, a few really stupid people who got in positions of influence. It's absolutely criminal.
You know what? I was talking to someone the other day about this. Is even in times where we're good, we're decent, we're okay as a society, there's always going to be that seed of problems, right? And that seed and those thoughts can always be amplified now, especially nowadays with the internet. So here we are, quite a few years later, that seed became tangible and became reality. Brexit. We're now out of EU. And I think in the next years, things will get worse and worse in such a way that we will go through another cycle. There's going to be change again because people realize, we are in a bad... No one's going to talk about the fact that it's Brexit, like you said. It's going to always be something else. But change will need to happen. And then we'll go through another cycle. And then it depends if we land on a more positive or still down bad in terms of our positioning. But I do think that I honestly feel that the pre-Brexit was, in a way, the best period for UK. I moved to this country because of what it kind of represented as, inclusive or technology hub, this, that, and we're getting a bit off track, off rail, where we currently are with the situation in Brexit in UK. But anyways, I don't want to make this a politics related.
I don't mind. I think
Yeah.
we were such a cool country. I mean, I was in London in the late 90s, like Cool Britannia and all that. It was such a, and in the noughties, such a great place to be. And I think what's really ironic is all these people that have pushed to make, to say Britain needs to stand on its own. It's all about sovereignty. They've absolutely, undermined us as a player on the global stage, and they've just made us look so stupid and so small, and idiotic. And it goes against everything that they think they stand for. It's really ironic.
And it's like the whole, let's not even talk about the whole Brexit back and forth and how silly everything looked at the global scale. Yeah. I have one important question before the closing ceremony, which is, when we started discussing, you said that the reason for which you started your own company was because you wanted, where I'm going with this, you said that it was because you wanted longer lunch breaks and to be able to have your walks and not have your time extremely exacerbated by work. Do you have longer, now 10 years into your business, do you have longer lunch breaks and walks?
No.
You don't?
No. No. I mean, I think it took about 7 years before I had lunch, like, to start with. It's like being in a cage with a door open. It's absolutely bonkers. You work 10, 12 hours a day, every day, might work weekends. I mean, it's just relentless. I have the odd pocket of fun, but my employees do as well. But yeah, I feel like I've got freedom, even though it's like everything I do sounds like a song. I do it for me. Yeah, do you know what I mean? So, but I've always worked hard when I've worked for other people as well. But no, is the short answer to that.
Now at least you feel like you could take a longer lunch break, but you just don't want to.
I know. Like when I came away today, I was like, I felt bad, like I was being naughty coming out coming out of work for a couple of hours to do this. But it's really good to come up for air. I think it was all getting a bit intense. So yeah, but no, I'm quite a hard worker. So I know some CEOs kind of swan around and stuff, but I like to lead by example.
Do you see a slowdown anytime in the future, or are you thinking, no, God, no, I'm gonna be working intensively and that's what I love?
No, for me, I would love to get out in a couple of years. I mean, absolutely love, if not before. Because you just need to get the position in a good, in a better place. And then I'm so happy to kind of step down. I think I'd probably like to still be involved, but I think just getting the business in a good place, and then I'll really just get out of the way for either kind of internal promotions or see if someone wants to buy the business, see what happens. But no, I've just done this like 2-year thing.
And then you'll have longer lunch breaks?
Yeah. Oh my God, I'll be so busy doing nothing. You'll have no idea. We'll love it.
That's awesome. Well, I usually like to close off with 3 flash questions. First one being, what's a quote that you live by?
It's my quote, keep breathing.
Keep breathing, that's awesome.
I'm not even joking. It's like my motto.
Do you have, so this seems quite well fitted for yourself after what you told me. But But do you also have problems with forgetting to breathe when you talk too much? Because Nikki has that, like she gets, when she talks a lot and she's in a meeting, she gets super red because she forgets to breathe.
I think mine's my age. No, I think I hold the stress up here.
Oh,
Like, so
right.
I forget to
In
breathe
the
out.
shoulders,
So
yeah.
yeah. No, I do have a poem on my wall, and I can't remember all of it, but it's who's it by? And it's I am the master of my fate. I am the master of my soul. So that's the kind of quote I'm master of my own destiny, and I have to make it work. So yeah, I'll have to look that up. I'll send you it. It's a brilliant poem.
Oh yeah, I'd love to read it. Book that impacted your life.
Yeah, there's a book, Small Island, by have you heard of it?
Yeah, I think so.
It's
I've
about
not read it.
it's about the Jamaicans coming to Britain, like from the war onwards. It's a beautiful book, but yeah, really interesting about the Jamaicans fighting in the war, and then kind of experiencing racism and stuff when they tried to settle then in the UK. But yeah, that's always stuck in my mind, that book.
Okay, good. And last question before we close off. A good habit that you advocate for?
Exercise.
Exercise.
Yeah. I know I'm quite chubby, but I do a lot of boot camp and yoga.
Nice.
And I just love it. It's just yeah. Highly recommend boot camp for people, yeah.
Especially in jobs like ours where you sit down and you just like on the computer 24/7.
Yeah. And dancing as well. If I do go dancing, I like put my hands in the air to shake.
Yeah, it feels like it's relief.
Yeah,
You get some relief in your arms and the weight of it and so on.
If I'm out dancing, you'll always see me with my hands up.
Okay, then let's take dancing. People should dance a bit more and just loosen up their limbs and
dance like there's no tomorrow. That's another motto.
dance like there's no tomorrow. I love it. Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much. This was an amazing conversation. Again, you have and you just mentioned, I've hoped that this podcast also help you realize what you've achieved so far and where you are, because like you said, we can get bogged down in the details of our day-to-day world and so on, and you kind of forget the fact that this is my first business and I've been doing it for 10 years and I have tens of employees and customers and so on. So really great achievements. I have something for you. I don't know if you're expecting this or not.
No.
Okay, it's good that you don't know about it. I'm still surprising people with this, but this is a coin as a thank you gift for being part of Misfit Founders.
Oh, wow.
And it has the number 26, which is your guest number 26. You're the 26th Misfit founder that has agreed to share their story on the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. You make me emotional. That's I really enjoyed it. I must admit, I was a bit. I just sort of felt like I didn't know, not worthy, but yeah, it's been great to chat with you.
It's a great conversation, and the reason why I'm giving. Oh, and by the way, you also get a code to get some, if you like, merch and stuff from my store, which I'm launching soon, like Misfit Founders merch store. The reason why I decided to do this is because not only that you and the rest of the founders that come over put the effort of coming into my studio and chatting to me for an hour and a half and so on, but also this content will be distributed and will probably wind up inspiring and helping so many other founders that maybe, like yourself, been in the corporate and professional world for a long time, and maybe they're not in their early 20s and they've been thinking about starting something, but it's been daunting and so on, or maybe they have their company started and they're at 100 people. And some of these discussions can feel relatable and can help others. So this is one of the reasons why I give this coin as a gift, because I know how much value others can get from these podcasts. So thank you so much for your contribution.
No, that's great. Thank you so much. And actually, just one word of advice for people starting their own business: get your processes right and your data right from the word go.
Right.
Don't be scrambling around years later trying to put it all together.
Very valid.
Top tip.
For a second, I thought you were going to say, don't do it.
Well, at that.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.